Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am so excited for today's video. I am going to be talking about how you can start a wellness podcast. I'm going to go over some tips specifically for wellness podcasts that you need to know in order to ensure that you have a successful podcast and you really are bringing people value, especially in the time of social media where there's so many of us. So let's figure out how you can stand out. Let's get into the video. Who don't know me, I am Shika. I'm a travel lifestyle content creator, mentor, and owner of Blog It. On this channel, I talk about all things spirituality, wellness, entrepreneurship, and social media. So today I am going to be talking about social media, where we are going to go into the podcast. I set down a few tips that have helped me. As you guys know, if you don't know, that's okay. But on the 6th of January, I am launching my second podcast in wellness, and it is going to be called Work Your Light with Chica. It is a podcast talking about how you can release anything that does not serve you anymore. And I'm going to be bringing some amazing people onto the show. I've been able to establish my brand on social media the past 7 years, and I am so excited to share all of what I've learned with you guys today in this video. So please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and also put the notification bell so you don't miss a video on more helpful tips for podcasts, social media, all that good stuff, and helping you grow as a person. And let me know down in the comments down below, what is your podcast that you're creating? A little bit more about that, as well as any questions you have throughout the whole session. So let's get into it. So the first and foremost thing is, what part of wellness are you going to be talking about? Is it going to be on mental health? Is it going to be on holistic health? Is it going to be on spirituality? What is the part of wellness that you're going to be talking about on your podcast? A lot of times, and one of the things that I do notice as a flaw for a lot of podcasts is they go very general and broad, and it can be great depending on what you're going for. But as a start off, I always say that kind of focus on a specific type of wellness. So if you're really good at talking about nutrition, talk about nutrition. If you're really good at talking about holistic health or essential oils, talk about that. If you're really good about talking about mental health and the issues that women or a certain demographic works on or is facing, talk about that. This is your space, and you decide exactly where you want to go, but you also decide on how you're going to be an expert in the space. And I think one of the things with podcasting, and even with my first podcast when I was trying to get things organized, it's like I have so many great topics, and as humans we have so much we can offer, but if you're offering the same as, you know, every single person, or you're giving a little bit of everything with wellness, how are people supposed to judge as far as what the next episode will be? So you don't want any guessing games. You want them to just know what type of wellness you're going to be talking about. This will also help you lay out your description, a little package thing, like the description blurb that's going to be on your Spotify, on your website. It just tells people in short what your podcast is about, who the host is, what it's, you know, all of the nits and gritties and what they should expect from this podcast in order for them to be inclined to subscribe. That's another thing too, is making sure that you are being clear of what type of wellness you're going to be talking about. So then they are more inclined to subscribe, because then they know right off the bat, is this podcast for me? Is it not? And then you can also know who your audience is. So that is number one. Number two is podcasts. The great thing about podcasts is that you get to be part of people's days. So whether it is a mom of 4 screaming after their kids to come and eat their vegetables at dinner, or in traffic really pissed off about your appointment that you're 30 minutes late, or maybe you're just part of their chilling night at the end of the night, they're just relaxing, painting their nails, whatever it may be, you become part of people's days. And that is the most rewarding part ever. And one of the things I always say is, when you are creating a successful wellness podcast, you want to be part of people's days. That is what defines a successful podcast. When they are talking about being part of, you know, you giving them a sense of relief through wellness, or a sense of comfort, even though they have a busy time and they're going to the gym, or they're working, or they're just being human. As you guys know, part of wellness, you know, this world is a crazy world, and you want them to have a sense of fresh air when they listen to your podcast, a sense of an interesting perspective, whatever it may be. I think it's very important. So kind of visualize, how do you want people to be part of their day? And a great way to start that is looking at your target audience. So your target audience, what type of person are they? Are they a busy person on the go? So then you know exactly how to talk to them as if they're in the same room as you. This is very keen, and this is very important because it also allows you to gravitate and bring people in through emotion. So make sure you're kind of figuring out, how will I be part of the people's days? And how you figure that out is by knowing who your audience is, so you know what their habits are, and you also know how to create more good content and high quality content that's going to serve them and bring them value on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, no matter how many times you're going to decide to schedule your podcast. Next tip that I have for you guys is bring experience. A lot of people, we love to listen to those who are an expert in their field. And this goes back to the first tip of just knowing what you're going to offer. So what I love to do is bringing stories. Stories are amazing. It allows people to kind of take into appreciation of maybe something that they can relate to, emotion. It can also be expertise. Maybe you've been a nutritionist for the past 10 years and you finally made a podcast and you can talk about that. You can say, hey, I was in the field for 10 years and now I've decided to actually help people on a daily basis by bringing them information on nutrition. Maybe you've been through a horrific kind of experience with mental health, or perhaps whatever it may be, and you've healed and you've grown yourself bigger and better than anything could be, and even just a stronger being. And now you want to take all that you've learned and share your wisdom with other people. Share that story, share that vulnerability. People always connect with emotion. So experience really allows people to respect you in the field of wellness, or just any podcast in general. It also allows people to understand, okay, this is what she's willing to offer. This is what she wants to give. It just gives you more substance to your podcast. It also allows you to stand out from all the other people. Every person has a story, and you're not trying to get every single person in the wellness to follow your podcast. I know it sounds weird and absurd. You're trying to get the people who are genuinely interested, the people who will come back every single week or day or month to see your podcast because they love it and they love what you have to offer. So make sure that you're really bringing out the quality of content by sharing experiences and stories to allow people to understand the context, especially if it's an educational wellness podcast. I find it's just so much easier to grasp, depending on if it's a very dense topic that you're talking about. That's very crucial. Let's get into the nitty gritty of what about the actual process of the podcast. So the next thing is bringing perspective. I know a lot of people, and I know for myself, I had this question: do I end up only talking on the podcast? Do I bring people in? I will say there are a lot of benefits to bringing new perspective with new people in. And one of them is being that they get to hear a different voice. Another thing is another person can give you exposure to their audience that is genuinely interested in wellness. And it also allows you to learn, as someone who is in the wellness space, to kind of bounce ideas back and forth and to make sure that you're not having a podcast that is biased. I find that when you are just the only one talking in the podcast, that's great. However, depending on your audience, it can allow people to have a different perspective, and it gives them more of a welcoming hand of being like, hey, share your opinions too on social media. So I really think that bringing new perspectives, bringing new voices, bringing new opinions, bringing new fields of work. Sometimes maybe if you're not an expert in a certain field and you want to do a podcast on a specific topic underneath whatever you're focusing on, bring someone in, someone who knows what they're talking about. And all you have to do is interview them, ask them questions. You get to learn some awesome information, and so does your following and your subscribers and listeners. So again, I think perspective is just so great. And it also, like I said, gives you a lot of exposure. And as a startup podcast, your biggest thing is probably, hey, I want to get listeners. And what better way to do that than organically through a collaboration with someone else? Okay, so I have 2 points for this one. Sound and timing is key for a successful podcast, specifically for wellness. When you are talking with someone, and I'm talking with you guys right now, but when you're talking to someone, tone is so important. If I were to talk to you guys right now and say, hey, welcome to my platform. But if I was also supposed to talk to you guys, hey, hi, welcome to the podcast, da 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 da. That's so different. My energy is different. And remember that people are listening to you. They're not seeing what you're doing, but they're listening to your energy. They're listening to whatever you have to bring in. So you want to make sure that whatever you're saying verbally is bringing in emotion. Maybe you're talking about a very impactful story. You want to bring that. You want to be sincere. You want to change the tones throughout the podcast. Tone is so key to making sure that your audience continues to be engaged. So I always like to practice, even when I do start my podcast, my tone. I like to listen to my own episodes and see where I can tweak things. Now, a more technical side is making sure that you have a good speaker, or sorry, not speaker, a good, good mic speaker. Good mic is so important. One of my favorite ones is actually, oh my God, I'm totally forgetting, and it's like right there. Blue, yeah, the blue speaker. If you guys know what it is, it's really great. I actually learned this one from Jenna Kutcher. I'll link it down below for you guys so you can go check it out. And this is an awesome speaker to use. Why? Because its sound is amazing. It goes multi-directional, and it is one of the easiest things to set up. It is connected by USB. All you have to do is connect it to your laptop. It is a heftier mic, however, and usually the cost of it, I'm in Canada, so it cost me about $100, just under $100 for shipping from Amazon for me to purchase this mic. If you go on Cyber Mondays or even on sales days, you might be able to get it a little bit cheaper, or a used one. Obviously, used, you're kind of shooting a bullet from that sense where you're like, oh, maybe might not be able to return it, but at the same time, if you want to get something, that's a great option. So I'll link that for you guys. And the great thing about it is probably the budget. But the great thing about sound is keeping in mind that it is worth investing a little bit on a more higher end sound eventually. Obviously, you can always start up with what you have, but sound is really going to either turn people away and away from your podcast. So you just want to make sure that you do have a good sounding podcast. This is so, so important. Also think that when you have sound too, like I said, if you're using tones, if people can't hear it because there's like kind of a raspy voice or a kind of a beating, kind of ticking noise in the background, it's going to be very distracting. So you just want to make sure that you are making it easier for you to edit, easier for whoever's editing it, and also easier for your audience to actually listen to it and focus on the context as opposed to the sound issues. Okay, so the last one's very important, and again, this is just based on a lot of things. Advertising your podcast and having a place for people to contact you. Your podcast should have a home. Didn't sound home. Home. What I mean by that is having a website is so key when you have a podcast. It allows people to kind of go through your episodes, and I find a lot of people when they're searching and finding new podcasts, websites are usually the first place that they go to. It's also amazing for advertising. Let's say you're doing Pinterest or whatnot. It's a great way to kind of link people to go to your podcast. And as well, with your podcast having a website, it's a great way for people who want to be on your podcast to actually contact you directly and have the contact section. So it's just a more professional way of having it, and it's really easy. Obviously, you're going to have all your stuff linked to a network such as Libsyn, which is what I use. However, once you have that there, you do want to make sure you're not only relying on Spotify and stuff. People would want to learn more information about you. So I always say the most important part of any content creator is just to have a website. So make sure you have a website, and it also gives you an opportunity to give a little bit of more information for maybe other episodes, like maybe a freebie, or perhaps, you know, people to subscribe if they really love your podcast and they binge watched it and they want to know when a new episode's out for your email list. That's a great way too. But just making sure that you have a place for all of your content to live is so important to make sure that you have a successful wellness podcast. So I hope that was really helpful for you guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I love the process of creating a podcast, and I know it can be very overwhelming starting out. I know I was really overwhelmed, and I'm sure you guys are probably feeling that too, and I'm happy you came on this video. So I'm hoping that it helped you guys a lot. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and put notification bell so you don't miss another video, and you can get more tips on how you can help yourself with your social media, your branding, growing personally, all different stuff. But like I said, I really hope you guys have a great podcast launch. Let me know what your podcast is down below. I'd love to check it out. And then you guys can also connect with each other, which is amazing. So yeah, that's it for the video. I'm sending you guys a lot of light, a lot of love, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao, bye.